does up gold in his lane opponent. Of course, that first turret certainly helps a bit.
Yeah, and I mean, I think they earned that pretty well. We'll see if they will return to the brand, if that's something that they're willing to consistently pick, or if it's just like a one-off type thing, trying something out.
It worked. I'd do it again. I would keep trying.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, they've locked in third. They may just be having a little bit of fun, allowing some flexibility in picks, allowing Inori to come in and play and see how he's going to be able to perform against a top team like TSM. This could be helping them decide even which jungler is going to play primarily in the postseason.
Sure. You give them the reps to know what's going to be happening here in this one. Malzahar going to be dropped off the table. TSM willing to first pick it, not willing to give it away to Phoenix1 here.
Yeah, the Malzahar is actually something that's pretty interesting to me. Some teams place extremely high priority on it. Others do not really care that much. To me, Lulu is something that should be higher priority. I think the Malzahar is fantastic, and especially with the pick potential that it has, can be very strong. But it doesn't offer as much kind of like consistent damage and things like that as someone like Zyra or some of the other champions or Karma is. I think like the baseline effectiveness is maybe higher on those sorts of champions. When you're already winning though, there's almost no champion better at creating picks, and anytime you find a flash ultimate on a carry, it's going to work out because your team is there to follow up.
Absolutely the case, and it's something that you've got to be watchful for, and so that is the situation we're in right now. Final ban comes through for Phoenix1 as a Lucian from Svenskeren, and now TSM to get their final ban off the table. Not going to let Ezreal be picked up, even though the Varus was prioritized over it in the first game. They still want to get rid of that, so P1 have to find what their first pick is going to be.
And I think that Ezreal is a ban that makes some sense. If it's something that you think is tough for your composition, Arrow has proven that he's a great Ezreal player. Then it doesn't even matter if he's prioritizing it, because you may say, okay, great, he's prioritizing the Varus, well, we don't mind playing into it. And I think that Varus is someone that was very hard to take over the game, like the last one. And, you know, I talked about it in picks bans. You have to play so carefully around the Maokai, around the Lee Sin and the Ahri on that champion that even if you have a lead, it's really hard to kind of exploit it and take advantage of it.
Absolutely the case. So Shen going to be the first pick available, and it was left up on the table as TSM would rather ban away things like Rumble in the top lane, which of course is known as a counter pick to Shen.
Probably a Nautilus along with the Rengar. Sometimes they will drop Hauntzer down a little bit later, but I'm expecting that to get first rounded. He could go back to the Maokai, but I do think with Nautilus available, it is the higher priority of the two.
I tend to agree. I value Nautilus as the stronger champion. You saw the quick hover of Graves, Svenskeren saying, I know what you're going to pick, Inori. Go ahead, play the matchup, it's fine. Nautilus does come through, and really right now, no surprise in the pick phase.
And I'm not even sure Inori is actually going to pick the Graves. While that is a traditional trade, Inori has always kind of struck me more as a Kha'Zix player.
Right.
And I think Kha'Zix is another one that is a fine trade, so he's going to go right for that.
And it's a game without Graves in it. Sometimes a bit unusual. He's been arguably the most sought-after jungler in professional play. It's debatable between that and Rengar, but stats definitely have Graves really up there. Kha'Zix grab, P1 have to make their final pick of the first phase, and the question is, which of the three outstanding roles did they go for? Both teams have top laners and junglers, and they're going to grab Lucian. And once again, it is a early pick with very few marksmen off the table. Arrow says, you know what? Let's do what Sneaky did.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of funny. So he was saying last night before he was streaming, oh, Sneaky taught me how to play Lucian by beating me with it, so now I'm going to practice it. And now busting it out here today. We'll see how he's going to be able to do. I think it works very well with the aggressive support type lanes. So Shady has the potential to go back to something like a Brand. I mean, if you can hit a stun, Lucian can dash in and follow up on that very easily. I also think he pairs excellently with Karma, with Nami. Those champions do all work quite nicely.
I agree, so we'll see what comes out of this one. Bjergsen this time around rushing to pick up the Vladimir before anything can be taken away. Didn't want to have that banned away in the second phase, as it was by Phoenix1 in the first game. Realizing that P1 wanted to remove it, grabs it early, and it does mean the bot lane pool can be diminished, but honestly, I feel like so much is viable down here. I generally feel like most bot lane bans are a bit wasted, but P1 are going to ban Ashe out for now. I really don't
played 3 games of Ashe yesterday, so it could be just kind of a nod to that. They also were playing Vladimir in these sorts of compositions, so they may feel that he wants to play it alongside this, because they had very similar, if not identical, drafts to this yesterday, where they did then lock in Ashe. So it may just be something where they're trying to disrupt. And TSM has been going to Vladimir quite a bit. I think that the Vladimir takeaway and the Cassiopeia ban is becoming one of their mainstays.
And you see the Kassadin ban coming through as it is one of the other good matchups into Vladimir. Cassiopeia, I think, is considered sort of a counter in that Cassio can handle him, likes to build him. Relanomicon can kind of deal with the 1v1. Kassadin is picked because Kassadin just works as a champion and doesn't get bullied and just gets to become Kassadin and get that level 16 power spike, as some teams refer to it as. And that's an oftentimes picked champion of Vlad. Off the table, of course, Ashe and Varus. So 2 of the utility marksmen have been dropped away, not allowed. And now it's time for the first pick on this phase for TSM.
And hey, if you think that Turtle is a worse laner, take him off something that's safer, that's more utility-based, put him on something that's more aggressive. You know, going into that Kalista, that's a straight-up, pretty aggressive matchup between Lucian and the Kalista. One thing that can get overlooked sometimes, and I'm not sure how this works with a new patch where the Lightbringer casts faster, is that Kalista hopping to the side, you can actually dodge the Lucian Q. So that is an interaction that has always favored Kalista quite a bit. That said, there was a reduced cast time put on Lucian's Q now, so I'm not sure how easily it is to actually dodge.
Makes it actually better for the Kalista in the early game, but yeah, by late game, they start zipping around, and well, too bad Lucian's Q super fast. Orianna going to be grabbed up here as the pick against the Vladimir. It looks like Rio wanted to secure that champion still all the same, but at least this time he knows what matchup he's playing into.
Round 2?
Round 2. They could use some magic damage. They got a Kha'Zix and a Lucian. You know what to do. Kalista, I don't think is actually, it's going to be Karma. Unlucky. They don't want to, I guess, blind pick the brand into an unknown support, which honestly to me makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I think especially against Vladimir, I actually think the brand is pretty awful into Vladimir, simply because you can kind of die to just peripheral damage, and Karma with the Mantra Shield does help to negate so much of that AoE. And when you look at the solo laners of TSM, the Vladimir and the Nautilus both put out huge amounts of magic damage AoE. So when you have the Mantra Shield, the Locket, the Redemption, that's kind of the big trio for Karma, and you can negate a ton of the team fight pressure coming out of those champions.
Absolutely agree. So we're going to see how much power this is going to have in the hands of Shady in his 3rd LCS game. He did lose to Cloud9 and TSM in his other 2, but those are tough opponents, and you can't always blame them for it. But Phoenix1 and TSM about to do battle with that Thresh locked in for Biofrost. Going to make the bot lane pretty fun. Thresh Kalista, a throwback lane, and sometimes literally when you consider how the champion kits work. Glad you liked that one.
I'll give you half marks, but
half marks. What?
I think it's a very strong lane, and it's something that can really take you off guard. If Thresh can actually flay you in, get a hook, you can land that CC, you start stacking the Ren stacks, you can take people out pretty easily with that. It's very, very aggressive, and Karma's gonna have to be exceptionally careful. Yes, the Karma and Lucian can battle up against these champions well, but if you ever get hooked, if you ever get hit by that, they don't have an easy person to kind of go aggressively in and tank that.
Absolutely, so we'll see how it plays out here as the champ select is done and the coaches shake hands for what could be the last time all year. They may never, oh, not all year, sorry, all split. I keep saying that and I'm wrong every time I say it. As we load ourselves into the game, Kha'Zix for Inori making his return to Phoenix1. Did not do well in the first game. You saw Svenskeren really outperform him. And now we get to see a couple new champions, a couple new looks. The Vladimir's in for Bjergsen. It worked pretty well yesterday that the team could not come up with a win. It is now time to hit the rifts. What is the last regular season match for both these teams? TSM hoping to close out this series, and if TSM do win this, they will take the first seed in playoffs. Phoenix1 guaranteed 3rd regardless, but I know Inori and Shady would love to have some redemption games for their earlier losses.
Yeah, they certainly would. I think to boost their confidence of the team going into playoffs, and also just to boost their own kind of personal stock within the team. You want to perform anytime you're given an opportunity as a sub to hopefully move yourself up into that starting roster. Thresh kind of up here on the top side. It's a little bit interesting, a bit atypical. Perhaps looking to kind of catch someone out or see if someone moves in for that ward on the Wraith Brush.
I think exactly it is. If someone walks in to see if Sven's going to start on the Raptors, then
he can level Q and try to force a summoner.
Absolutely. Quick trade, Zig versus Hauntzer. You can see Zig takes the trade long enough until his Keystone triggers and gets the heals back.
It's actually pretty interesting here. If you look at Zig, he's starting with a Doran's Blade.
Yeah, that is atypical.
Almost never see that. This is for sure the first time I've ever seen it in professional play. You're almost always going to be on that Doran shield, but I do think it's actually somewhat intelligent in a matchup like this because you're going to be able to be auto-attacking consistently. You have a little bit more damage perhaps in those trades, and you have a lot of attack speed with your pass-through, so I think he can trade effectively against tanks. It's kind of similar to what I've seen some players do, where you can actually go fervor against some of the lower damage tanks and have these long extended trades where you can take advantage of that.
Just to check real quick, generally speaking, Shen does more magic than physical damage, right? Just because all his spells do magic. So if Hauntzer is going to counter build in lane, he'll go Spectre's Cowl. And yeah, maybe that adds up slightly, right? You go Tiamat, you get the Doran's Blade, and maybe it's enough to make your life a bit better. You can see Inori preps all the Raptors. He's going to be about as fast as Sven is. They both clear those camps in very similar timings. You see Inori walk into the brush for Green Father's Gift after the initial burst. Small optimizations in the jungle always matter. Thunderlord's triggered. What a sick trade by Ryu.
It's going to be a pretty passive lane, likely. I do think that Orianna can bully in the early stages. You can try to shove him in. You can try to get your edges there, especially once you pick up your first blue buff. If you can push in that Vladimir, you can at least get some semblance of an advantage there, even if it's just through pressure, allowing your jungler to kind of have more freedom to move around the map a little bit more.
We'll see what that freedom entails for these players. This Sven's going to clear the Raptors, or sorry, the Krugs and make his recall. This time around, he's actually faster on the play than Inori. Generally speaking, I feel like Rengar is better at killing those, so not a huge surprise, and they should have mirrored recalls.
This is actually pretty interesting. For a long time, junglers had been simply skipping the Krugs. They go Raptors, red, cross the map, take up their blue buff, the wolves, etc., and go for clears like this. And now we're seeing more players go to their Krugs, and both players are actually doing a mirrored path where they do that, they base, you move out on the map, then take your other half of the map and start looking to cause some pressure. Yeah,
it lets you have kind of full health and mana. In one case, Inori goes for the second jungle item. For Sven, he goes for a longsword here. And then you've got a control ward, you can put it down pretty early. And it's a nice safe build order. I really consider, because I came from RTS background, like I consider early jungle path like a build order where you have sort of 4 decision points. Like, yeah, I'm gonna build this building here. I'm gonna get these 3 camps, and then I'm always gonna have a 3-minute control ward, and I'm gonna use that. And then you can start, do I ward the one brush or ward the other brush? And you kind of like start branching from there. But it seems to be a very safe, risk-averse early plan for junglers.
Yep, definitely does. And both teams are trying to track the other opposing jungler. Because P1's bot lane had the push, they actually got a ward in on the Gromp. But Biofrost making a roam to Ryu, looking for first.
Ooh, Ryu. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think he was out of range. Yeah, he's smiling. I think he knows he was out there.
It's hard to make that call, though. It was a mistake, but I understand the choice all the same. Zig in the battle with Hauntzer. Yeah, puts the dodge zone up and ignores all of it, but
it's a really tough situation for Ryu now. Having that flash be forced, especially because Biofrost did not even expend his flash. You can return gank this pretty easily. You can also wait for Svenskeren to hit level 6, and he's setting up a brush camp, gonna try to take on Inori. We'll see how this goes.
Got more combat stats, has the longsword. Inori jumps away right away. W into EQ out, but Sven took basically no damage.
It means he gets his jungle. Yeah, he's gonna take those Raptors, and he can look to try to get some more vision down, and even just taking this away is pretty big. Inori's gonna try to match on the other side, and we'll see if he's going to be able to do that.
He's got to have some level of risk. He is one level under Sven. He's got a few seconds to work with, though, and he should realize that he's heading back up this way. I mean, Sven would know that that's where Inori should be.
He's going to get collapsed on. I mean, this is the tough part, is that Nautilus is now on this side of the map. They've kind of corralled him.
He's okay with Satchel, I think. Oh, no, I don't think
there. He's dead.
The flash to get out, and now Sven's got to chase this, so they're okay. And hey, it's a trade of flashes, to be honest.
Not bad.
Inori didn't get the full camp, but he trades flashes with Sven and gets at least something back.
Yeah, and I thought he was going to be dead for sure, but Zig did a good job of coming down and protecting his jungler as they did kind of trade those flashes back and forth. And TSM didn't want to fully commit to any sort of a crazy fight there.
That's what you get for being able to jump over walls. Of course, Inori had E to get away, so he didn't have that cooldown. Nice hook on an arrow. Can play in for a bit more damage. And even triggers the Kalista W.
A good little trade, but through the shield, not going to mean too much here for either side.
Worth pointing out, a 5 CS lead for the TSM duo. So with Brand Varus off the table, looks like WildTurtle and Biofrost able to recover what was so rough in game 1. A 700 gold lead for TSM just from the laning phase. Yeah. Very impressive.
I mean, take a look at mid lane, right? Like, mid lane is a big disadvantage. Svenskeren is up quite a bit in farm as well. This is a little bit problematic. I mean, anytime I feel like you can get Vladimir ahead in these sorts of lanes, he can become super oppressive, because if he gets 2 ahead, he stops really caring about your damage. Even just through building AP, he heals so much.
You see right there in the bot lane, speaking of healing a lot, Biofrost might need to do that soon. He was kind of pushed around as he tried to build a freeze. TSM had to push the wave in, but the thing is, WildTurtle got a pretty safe recall here. He got to get his items in, and now it's another attempt to push, but because WildTurtle is back in lane and has items, he can actually shove the next wave back in pretty quickly. and it's not even a cannon wave. So WildTurtle's gonna deny more than Arrow and Shady did with their recall, despite the fact that Turtle recalled first.
And as Svenskeren gets really close to 6, Ryu's going to have to play extremely carefully. So he actually is 6 right now. He's going to go straight to mid lane. He knows Ryu has no flash, and this could be the first blood if Ryu is not playing around that. And I think with him moving up, it's probably going to be. He is spotted now. We'll see if he's not going to be able to go for it at this point.
And then he realizes, and Ryu, the ball, yeah, it's not going to matter. There he goes. Jumps, Qs for the reset, knocks it down. Control ward dead. Ryu couldn't really stop that.
That threat is still so big, though. Until your flash is back up, Ryu has to play ridiculously safe. Hauntzer's down here now, too.
Flash
Round 2.
Oh, Flash actually. Anchor's going to go in. There's all the damage. Ryu is going to be a goner here. Shockwave by
Shen ulti.
Shen shows up. Not enough, though. It's a trade kill, though. Well played to actually get the roam back in. A 1-for-1 is the best they could hope for. First blood, of course, still does go through to TSM.
Yeah, actually not too bad. It is still good play from TSM, but because that Shen ultimate was there, they're not able to kill him quite quickly enough. I think if the Shen ultimate came in immediately, maybe he actually gets into the play. I mean, look how late that was. Yeah. If he came into that play, perhaps they can continue chasing, but that said, Inori's really low, he's out of mana, so a 1-for-1 was probably the best they were going to get.
It might have actually been, I'm not sure that Zig was completing a recall, and because he ulted from base, so I don't know if he had to wait to recall to buy items or whatever, and needed a cowl to be in the fight. I'm not sure, but either way, you're right. There's a chance that Shen could have shown up and turned more of the fight around.
And on second look, I don't think he could have anyway.
Okay.
Since Inori was so low there. But either way, that's a trade kill back. Bjergsen opening up such a big gold lead, though. The fact that First Blood went over to him is great for TSM. It's going to get him much more quickly towards that Proto Belt, which will likely be his first item. Once you have that Proto Belt, you can get super aggressive.
That's the case for a bit to do here. Nice damage, and with the ulti, Arrow pushing Biofrost around a bit. Early Cutlass is some nice sustain and makes him pretty much impervious to WildTurtle poke. He hasn't been all-in yet. No plays yet happening on the top side of the map. Zig is able to play under his foot pretty safely here. Doran's Blaze helped the last hit a little bit.
One thing I'd like to see P1 try to do is actually utilize their teleport advantage right now. They have TP advantage. Start up the dragon. You're on Kha'Zix. Kha'Zix can solo out the dragon pretty easily, and having the TP edge, I think, is something that you need to utilize. When you're playing Shen, you have double globals. You need to continuously push the pace of the game and force those globals out to get an advantage.
And Roy can actually get it right now. They pinged out where the Kalista Sentinel was.
Instead.
Yeah, he's going to trade blue, but he even still has the chance to solo Clouddrake whenever he wants it. I'm sure if it were Infernal, the team's going to play differently and really fought for it more. And Nori actually going to give away his position, but it doesn't really matter. Looks like Sven is too far away. He plays with the blue buff's patience enough, and he should get the trade of blues. Of course, Bjergsen doesn't want one, but Ryu is kind of missing out on the fact that his was taken away.
And with that blue buff, he should be able to start up the dragon. I do think that would be a good decision. But it looks like for now, he just wants to try to find a kill. I'm not sure he's going to be able to, and he's going to head back to base.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that the ability to have a Kalista Sentinel sit on top of a Drake still exists. And looks like either WildTurtle's not allowed to do it in Pro Play, which I don't think exists as a rule, or he's just not going for it. But you can usually get a Sentinel to confuse itself on top of the Drake and just sit there and reveal it forever. It's either something Turtle doesn't want to do, but either way, it's not a huge deal. The fact is that Inori could solo the Drake whenever he wants to, but he's not going for that kind of play. Zig just going to sit in lane. Does have a small CS lead, so they've both left lane to a certain degree helping the mid lane, and Zig feeling pretty right with this one.
Yeah, Zig's looking good. I think that Shen can lane up pretty well against the Nautilus. There's a very low chance of actually killing him off.
Yeah.
But you can get an edge. You can farm extremely well, whether you're pushing or under turret, thanks to your Q. Getting that bonus damage makes it super easy to last set, and it's even easier with the Doran's Blade.
Absolutely. You see Spectre's Cowl for both these top laners. The makings of for Hauntzer. He actually has his. Looking for the dive is Bjergsen, forcing a flash out of Ryu.
I mean, Ryu, that was just disrespectful. The fact that Bjergsen has his empowered Q up and he just walked into him, now Bjergsen can flash forward. He just needs the ignite. Didn't get it.
Doesn't get the ignite off, and now the chase is on for Bjergsen. Sanglepool's going to do nothing, and Inori gets the kill. Bjergsen screwing up the dive, and Inori's in the right place, the right time, and turn it around.
Yeah, Bjergsen just didn't get that ignite off, or he would have got the quick kill. But Ryu on that initial trade was pretty poorly done. He thought he could actually trade into that empowered Q with his shield up. So you'll see he opts into this. He says, okay, I'll shield myself, I'll go up. It does so much damage. Your shield does not even come close to that on rank 1 shield.
Yeah.
And you can't opt into those trades without
fighting the boss. Speaking of trades, though, Turtle's going to flash away, but Arrow's on the chase, and here comes the top.
No!
Nice juke by Turtle. Zig can't find him with it. At a certain point, you have to guess when you're the Shen, and WildTurtle guessed better.
Yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is, though, Zig missed his taunt, but he had enough time to realize that it was going the other way. You can actually flash that taunt onto his character and guarantee the kill. So at pro level, I expect him to be able to land that taunt, even if you get juked.
And here comes the play. Rengar wants in as well. The knock-up still going to land, despite the fact that arrow burns flash. And here is Sven. Yeah, he's not going to miss that at all. And here comes the rest of the play. The jump is in for the turnaround. Inori gets one. He looks for two. Sven's going to jump the wall. Can he stay away, though? Looks like no one's here to jump him just yet.
Ryu's coming over.
Is coming down. Here's the haste in. They want Inori to get in there. He's going to have leap up soon, but Sven has an empowered root. Moves through the W instead, finds a satchel. Still on the chase.
I don't think he can get the execute. I think Inori tagged.
There's the jump. That's going to be the kill. And the assist goes over because of the shields. But it managed to waste 3 players' time. The best it probably could have been for Sven. That fight still does go Phoenix1's way, 2-1. And it makes the gold tie.
Yeah, Inori has been in much better spots this time around.
Yeah.
He has been there to clean up kills. Yes, it has been a little bit of being the benefit of some mistakes from TSM. You know, the Bjergsen dive, not getting his ignite off, being able to clean up that kill. But credit to Inori for stepping up here in game number 2 and getting a lot more. The confidence was given them to make this dive because Shen ultimate was down, because they had already failed their attempt. And they're able to go in full commitment to it. But then it is Inori coming over the wall, able to take out that AD carry, and with him down, that's a pretty easy chase.
And nicely done. So Inori's managed to get these reactive ganks off. He's got 3 kills. He's got Ninja Tabby to deal with Rengar in the 1v1. Maybe some tower dives as well. And now will be the look at this Cloud Drake.
But now they actually have TP disadvantage. They may still get it, as TSM may not decide to actually challenge here, but there's no ultimate on Zig. There's no TP on Zig. Hauntzer could come in if they want to try to force, but Svenskeren on top side looks like TSM is okay to give it up, especially because it is Cloud.
Yep. Teams typically don't consider Cloud. Someone booed the Cloud Drake, apparently. Shout out to the audience, I guess. But yeah, it's going to be Phoenix1 grabbing another early Drake. And the previous one in game 1, Mountain meant nothing because they never hit any objectives again the rest of the game. Cloud means a little bit more. The ult to the chase in towards Ryu does not have flash, does have Shockwave. Gonna pull Sven in. That was a bit aggressive, and they're gonna find the trade kill. Jungler for jungler now. Combat into the mid lane as Bjergsen gonna kite away. Sanguine, of course, dodges out the turret shot, and it's gonna be 1 kill picked up for Bjergsen, 1 kill picked up for Inori.
And Shen is moving down. Shen almost up, so Inori can look for this now if he wants to. He should jump in. Shen ultimate could come out.
To the play, lands the W. Here comes Zig around the wing. He's gonna get that one, and this time around he lands the flash to get the kill on a Bjergsen.
Yep.
They waited out the empowered Q. They made it happen.
Well done. Corralling him up there, taking him down, and Zig makes good on his flash taunt this time. But P1 in the meantime is pushing in constantly bot side, and they are chunking down this turret. And here's the play again. TSM is really trying to push in on this mid lane very aggressively. Ryu with a nicely timed shockwave here does pull Sven off of him, and that allows him to live long enough for them to start trading these kills back. And then Inori forces out the pool. The empowered Q is going to expire. Once that happens and the Shen ultimate is coming back up, they know that they can look for this. They instead decide to just roam that Shen down and do expend the flash. I think they could have just gone with the Shen ultimate and probably just cleaned it up anyway. That may have been the lesser of the cost, but
yeah,
it's a decision. Both are fine.
Yeah, it's a decision. They went for that one. At least the kill did come through secured. You might have mentioned it in the replay. I didn't hear, but Ryu moving the Q to shockwave the Rengar away.
Yep.
Because I was like, okay, you just self-ult, you get the CC, you hope Inori turns around, he's going to make Q forward and pull you away.
Yeah.
And meant Bjergsen had to dedicate even more to finalize the kill, and it was very smart by Ryu.
Exactly. Even if you are going down, that forces them to expend extra resources and allows you to get 1 more rotation of spells out, perhaps.
One thing he misses out is the bonus armor MR from having the ball on his head, but wouldn't have changed anything about that fight, so I think it was the best he could have done. Fight for the ward goes. Getting the last hit that one. Could have given the hit over to Inori to give 30 extra gold to the team. Pretty minor optimization. This game's still very close. 400 in the lead for Phoenix1, though. Ryu still down CS under Bjergsen. This time he had the option to somewhat counter-pick it. Look for the hook. They land on an arrow, but do they even want
here? They don't want it.
A lot of damage coming through. WildTurtle pulls in his support, gets a knockback onto Inori. And they are going to get away from the turret. Nice pop of ult. It gets him out with only burning 1 summoner.
Yeah, I mean, that's a flash from Inori for just the heal and the ultimate of Turtle. It's not too bad. The big win here, though, for P1 is they're going to try to get that first turret. Nice shockwave. Wow.
Sven should not have attacked there. He should have seen the shockwave was coming and waited it out. He actually loses his ult leap. Still great by Ryu. buys himself the time. I think a little silly, but first turret does come through once again in the bot lane. The resource dedication toward Arrow and Shady is working out.
And to me, that's much more of a great play from Ryu than a poor play from Svenskeren, because how often do you see that play happen? Almost never, and that was really well done to fully pull him out without even the damage coming through.
Yeah, that was pretty slick. Here comes the attempt at a dive. A lot of damage comes in. Hook hits Inori. He's tanky enough. Arrow gets a lot of damage through, but can't finalize the turret dive.
Yeah, they're trying to actually just chunk them out to now pressure this mid lane turret. They have a wave coming up. Nautilus is roaming down, though. Shen ultimate is available. A big fight could potentially break out, but I think P1 would have the edge.
Not too much picked up here. Sunfire cape done for Hauntzer. He actually just he sat on the Null Magic Mantle and went all the way to Sunfire pretty early. Of course, Zig with the Doran's Blade and a Tiamat is physical damaging enough, and it gives Hauntzer some extra pushing.
And Inori is kind of the most likely person to make a visit to his lane that actually could take him out. Even if you don't itemize Spirit Visage or whatever, the Shen's likely not going to be able to do too much to you.
Yeah.
Whereas Inori could take you down, and having some of that extra armor is going to be helpful. Arrow is doing well, so it's going to help him out there too.
We are at the state of the game where Zig kind of has some priority over the lane. He's tanky enough. He's got
or
the
TSM
push.
top, though.
Yeah, you're right. He's going to kite back in time, though, and this time Zig's instincts do kick in. Arrow and Inori are heading this way, but they are still outnumbered right now. They don't have Shady just yet. Ryu almost takes down this mid turret, though. He's 2 auto attacks away from knocking it down, but for now has to respect the team. He's going to kite back. Arrow almost walked into the stun. What is he jumping in for? Because the rest of TSM are here, and Arrow's going to lose his life for that play. A bit of a catastrophe. The dodges are not going to be enough. Zig going to drop next up. A double kill for WildTurtle, and Arrow bit off way more than he could chew.
That was so poorly played from Arrow. Even with the dash in, he could have flashed the hook. He doesn't flash it. He gets hooked up, donates a couple kills over, and that's a fight that they potentially could have won.
Yeah, absolutely the case. The rest of the team was coming, and he just went too early, and it means that TSM are back on the board here with this one. They were actually starting to lose out a lot in this game, but back to tide.
Yeah, and here it is once again. The initiation onto Zig. He does have to retreat, but Arrow just dashes into a 2v4, has time to actually flash out, and then flashes out when he's already dead. So definitely not some of the best play there from Arrow. With the gold lead in the top side, on Inori and on the Lucian in this fight, I think they actually could have won that fight had they played it properly.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So unfortunate and a rare mistake from Arrow, but it is one. TSM clawing back into this one. Still have not taken the turret down, though. The reinforcement that came into the top side were able to keep that turret afloat. P1 very close to getting that mid lane outer. Again, it's at like basically 7 HP right now. And you can see Bjergsen playing very aggressively to try to wave clear it. And he is taking minion aggro, but it's going to drop right there. Unfortunately, local gold not gained, so a couple hundred lost that Ryu could have tried to walk forward to get. Means a less valuable turret than it could have been. Second Cloud Drake spawns now, and we'll see if as Phoenix1 are playing for the bot side right now. Zig going to dodge some attacks. Nice flay. Top one's already down. Good chunk of damage, and it'll be a trade of resources.
Exactly. With the bot lane showing top, we already know that Inori is going to be going straight for that dragon. He's easily able to solo it up. No real threat of TSM contesting, so they will grab themselves the second straight dragon and a significant movement speed advantage.
And I got to say, it was actually well played by P1. Zig tanked enough damage and kind of kept the turret alive that P1 could send resources bot lane, say, okay, Inori has it for free. Now get back top Arrow and don't let him pick that turret down. It looks like it's going to happen.
Arrow, though, okay. He took the safe route.
There's no way you go up that way. You definitely got to jump that wall there. He's going to be all right. And he's going to be okay with this one. 900 gold lead Phoenix1 plus the double Cloud Drake. Rotation speed going to be nice to have. But it is not direct combat stats. They've got to use it in some way for it to actually matter. And we'll see as the boards get cleared back and forth. Ryu looking for some champions. And suddenly he is in a 1v3. He walked through a ward. He's okay though. Cloud Drake move speed at its finest.
If you look at Arrow's build, it's actually extremely defensive.
Yeah.
Grabbing the tabbies and then also going for that Kindle Gem first to work towards the Black Cleaver instead of going towards a Phage.
Yep.
So he's definitely, he's going to be a little bit more tanky. But that said, his damage is going to be a lot down because of this. He's not building a ton of AD with all that gold spent. I mean, that's 1,600 gold. For the only offensive stats is a little bit of move speed and some CDR if you want to count those.
Sure, and yeah, more Qs does help a little bit, but you're right, it is a defensive build. He wants to make sure he doesn't die to Svenskeren. But of course, he has 3 shielding teammates. I don't know if you need that defensive of a build.
Yeah, I think it's a poor decision when you consider the fact that you have the Shen, the Karma, and the Ori.
There's the flash chase. Bjergsen's going to get this kill over Ryu. Here comes the Shen ulti to maybe buy some time, and Shockwave not going to come down in time. Well played by Bjergsen through the shields, gets the kill picked off, and of course, Haunt's going to have an easy time 1v1ing Zig in the bot lane. Nothing gained for P1.
And in that case, Zig couldn't have actually done anything with an earlier ultimate because Hauntzer was right there to interrupt it anyway. So you pop that ultimate just for the shield, not actually expecting to come through, but it definitely feels bad when you expend that ultimate and your teammate dies anyway, as it is a relatively long cooldown and it's one of the big powers of Shen.
Yep, and Ryu actually going for such a aggressive build too. Morello's into Luden's Echo. It's the standard build for Orianna, but the fact that he's behind, maybe he would have been better off with a Null Magic Mantle or something, or even haunting guys just for the HP.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's bad to just pick up a casual Null Magic Mantle and just sit on that. You don't have to build a full Abyssal or anything, but you can just trap a little bit of MR, which can make a massive difference in those sorts of all-ins, because he just does not seem to be able to survive against Bjergsen.
It's unlucky for Ryu, but it's the case that it's where he is right now, and he's got to withstand the rest of this. TSM have brought the gold now to equal. A lot of this off the back of Bjergsen's hard work. He's got 3 kills. Half of his team's right there. So far, not a lot being gained otherwise.
And Bjergsen has had a lot of help too. It's fair to mention, is Svenskeren has come time and time again with those ultimates. So it's not as though he's just straight up winning the 1v1.
Right.
You know, Ryu really has been getting picked on. And the fact is that Ryu's not that behind for how much attention has been paid his way.
Sure, totally. And you can see him able to trade back right there. Gets the punishment back on towards Bjergsen. Of course, we know with the flash with Vladimir, he's a
Turtle
target.
Far up.
Okay, maybe a 3v2. They don't go for the play, but this was actually, I think, diveable. Instead, they look for Svenskeren, looking not to get the shockwave just yet. Able to get away with his ultimate. Maybe goes back in, but 4 men strong. P1 not going to be jumped on here.
Yeah, such an even game. You know, the one thing that I always kind of notice in games like this, though, is the team that hasn't taken any turrets and is even in gold is often the team that ends up getting the advantage because there's more available for you to grab. There's more easy pickings. All the outer turrets are up. So if you ever win a fight, it often turns into so much more. I mean, if you look at the mid lane turret, the top lane turret for P1, they're both quite low, and that's going to be super easy for TSM to grab off the win fight.
Maybe looking for the grab on a WildTurtle. Flash gets the slow. The Q, that's going to be enough damage. Kill goes to Arrow. And Phoenix1 find the dive, the 3-man play, the shield, the haste from Shady helping it out. And this is going to be 3-0 in turrets in pretty quick order. P1 at least finding the openings in a very tight game otherwise.
Yeah, Turtle just moving too far up without Svenskeren having his ultimate to back him up, without Biofrost there to help him. He's a solo player. Even if it wasn't a 3-man dive, they could even set up a 2-man dive pretty easily with that. So it's something you gotta pay attention to, and you gotta be careful. You have to be willing to give up some of those minions and wait for your team to move into a position to defend you.
Yeah, and it's you can blame Turtle for defending the turret, and you can blame TSM for not defending the turret with more than just him. Either way, the association or the assignments were not accurate.
Yeah, well, and to me, it's one of those things where, hey, just because someone else made a mistake does not make your decision correct.
Turtle shouldn't be there alone.
It's like, exactly.
Sure.
So it's like, hey, maybe Biofrost should have been there in position, but since he is not, you then make the best decision remaining, which is get out of dodge.
Yep. It's surrender, give it away. And you're right that maybe Turtle as well as the rest of TSM for making this happen. But it is now this 1,300 gold lead for Phoenix1, the kill on the turret, and if they can keep their powers alive, it's okay. A lot of damage on a Ryu. Shockwave buys a bit of time. The shield's not going to be enough, though, and Shady's going to be next up with a chopping block, but gets over the wall. And now Inori wants to re-engage for this. Hauntzer still taking the turret, but down to about half HP, and Hook's going to land into Inori. This is more damage out, but it's going to be the kill. But first the taunt, and the dodge zone. Still the single pool is enough. Will there be a trade? Oh, Bjergsen with the Zhonya's arrow should get this back, and he will do so. Right now it's a 2-for-1. Can there be more? Looking for the damage with the not ulti damage. Not going to come through. Arrow gets a shield, gets alive just barely. WildTurtle wants to chase, lands the Q over the wall. WildTurtle finds his prey. They're going to get one more as it's going to be Zig dropping out 4-1 the overall trade. TSM with the lead.
And they're going right for Baron, it looks like. They have Kalista. They are low. Are they going to try to start it up? Yeah, they're going for it. The TP's coming back in. They will be able to take this, I think, pretty easily. Almost nothing P1 can hope to do.
You can see early smite for Sven to heal him. He knows that Ren is going to be enough to secure this.
That's theirs.
Shady and Ryu likely to not have their way with this one at all.
Definitely a frustrating fight for Zig, as he had so many people so low, but couldn't quite finish off anybody. And TSM has had such explosive starts to these fights, being able to burst down their targets through the Shen ultimate almost every single time. And, you know, this was a pretty early Shen ult coming in. Already the monster shield. Ryu has his own shield up, but they just blow him up through everything. And from that situation, it's very hard to win the team fight. I think P1 played it relatively well, but Biofrost was on point with his hooks. This was a fantastic taunt flash from Zig. He had 4 members and the parry zone, keeping Inori alive a little bit longer, which allowed them to fight back. But look at the backlines. Zig had all these guys so low, but he can't actually finish anyone off, and does eventually get taken down. And Turtle with a nice snipe.
Yep. Even in partial fog, but of course he knew where he was going, and then that hook is great as well. Yeah, P1, they could have made it a 1-for-2, and they looked for more and lost 2 members. I want to point out something that happened, by the way. WildTurtle delayed his rend on Baron until Bjergsen respawned. He wasn't like asleep at the wheel. He waited until his mid lane was up so that they do have all 5 Baron buffs. And that was Turtle having the patience to do so. Now after 5 Baron buffs, the 2,000 gold lead, TSM looking for a lot, Sven. Able to get his way out of this one, and we're not going to get hooked. TSM should have everything they need to get a lot more. As you mentioned earlier, if the game is tied and you haven't killed turrets yet, when you get that lead, those turrets fall and the gold explodes. Top outer dead, mid outer.
Mid's going to go down. There's almost no way to really defend this, I think, against a Baron if they want to contest. And ooh, Shockwave even expended there. Yeah, and all it takes is Sanguine Pool and a Lantern, and over they go to the left-hand side of the map. Bot lane outer picked off by the solo split push of Hauntzer. No one's there to defend that. And P1, generally speaking, have to give away most of these outer turrets. Yeah, I think the tier 1s are all I mean, you want to slow it down. You want to thin out the waves as much as you can, but you don't really want to commit to a full fight, I think, over these, especially not with Shockwave down now for Ryu, and TSM will just kind of wander in and take that out too.
Yeah, Bjergsen doesn't mind taking 2 turret shots there. He's got enough armor. Zhonya's hourglass is in. Needs to make that gold lead 4,000. Looking for a slow onto Biofrost. They're going to land some damage here. Red Spite in for a bit more. 1 hit away from the kill. They're going to get the one.
Shen coming in.
A bit far up. They're going to wait it out, and Bjergsen going to get found. Nice flash to stay safe. Zig finds a bit of a slow bit of damage, but it's not enough. 1 for 0 and a forced flash. Not bad.
Yeah, I mean, the pick there onto Bio and the flash forced on Bjergsen means that they may have stopped the bleeding a bit here. TSM may not be able to push for more with their Baron buff.
1 minute left on that buff. 20 seconds on Biofrost, meaning there's only 40 seconds of 5v5 left on the map with the Baron.
It's actually P1 trying to force up here, get some damage
Right
down on this turret. Looks like they're going for it, and Sven doesn't have his ultimate, so it'll be hard for TSM to actually fight back.
It's hard to actually do anything to Hauntzer right now, though. That fairly defensive build from Arrow is going actually towards a fast mortal reminder, which I understand via Vladimir existing, but you've got Umbrellonomicon. I don't know if you...
Well, the other thing you have to remember is he's a Black Cleaver, so he's building health, so you actually, it's the anti-synergy with Lord Dominic's.
Sure.
You get much less from that.
I'm just not even sure he needs Armor Pen as a build that much, considering he can go like Rapid Fire Cannon or something.
Yeah.
I think it's debatable. I'm not sure.
I think this is simply just saying, hey, who am I going to get to hit? It's probably only the Nautilus, who already has, you know, Tabby's Frozen Heart and that Sunfire Cape. So it does make sense in that way, and I think that sitting on the Executioner's Calling would be good too. You certainly need that in any build against a Vladimir, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think he's making a choice again. It's one of those where I think it's debatable. Rapid Fire and Executioners could be a choice, but either way, it's the way he is. Now looking in towards Svenskeren, getting to about half HP.
Oh, Bjergsen looking for the back line.
Looking for the play. Hook's going to land onto Inori. The Assassin could drop down quickly. Zhonya's to buy some time, and there's the first kill picked up by Sven. On the opposing jungler, Ryu still forced to cut away the flash. Anchor going to be grabbed up by Shady to buy some time. And a taunt in, but here comes WildTurtle diving into the backline just like he's always wanted to. Finds a couple of kills, looking for Shady to make it the complete ace. And now it's only Zig staying alive, alone against the world, and TSM. They're going to be taking a lot out of this one. Mid lane, doesn't matter. Top lane, tier 2 is the one you want to knock down now. 4 turrets picked up. Baron power play about 4,000, but there's more to gain. Bjergsen has aggro. Now this minion wave.
And Hauntzer just doesn't take any damage from these turrets. Easily able to pull off that dive with him tanking it the whole way through. They should not be able to end here, I don't think, but they're going to try.
Maybe they can.
Yeah.
Zig against the world. He's going to respawn now. Look for the taunt. He's got to find a squishy to do it on, though. Looking to close it out. TSM wants to make it 2-0.
Inori is back. Arrow in 5.
Looking to close out the match. Turrets are gone.
And to run.
TSM kiting off with just those as they run away. Going to be a lot of damage out of Inori. They land the slow. They land the taunt. They're going to get 1 kill. Now for Bjergsen, who goes back into the front line. Going to buy time some more and lose his life. A 2 for 0. The
and they
trade
get even more
for the 2 turrets. Well, it's already 3 Cloud Drakes. They're going to chase really fast. This team will catch up to TSM.
And they can delay the bases, and they have a minion wave in mid lane. They can shove up and try to trade back an inhibitor. We'll see if they can actually catch anyone out. It's Hauntzer using the TP to evacuate.
He knows he's there, but it's not going to matter. Summoner TP. Arrow kind of knows it. And out they go. He pings, hey, there's teammates. Oh, they didn't realize it was TP, actually. So Arrow, okay, realizes now that the rest of them are gone. Mid lane will be answered. Ryu should have the damage. He will. This turret's going to fall. So TSM making the choice to go for Nexus turrets. Lose 2 champions in mid lane tier 2.
Works out fine, I think.
Yeah.
I think it was risky, but the fact that only 2 of them went down meant that P1 could not just march down and end the game or knock an inhibitor right back. So that is going to end up okay. And the gold trade ends up pretty even. And it's an exposed Nexus, which is always a big threat.
Definitely is. So we're going to see TSM find the funny plays. Of course, with the TP recently used by Hauntzer to get away, that means he's not going to have it up again for when the inhibitors are still down. Inhib will respawn by the time his TP's back up, so there's no funny TP plays.
Yeah. I think it's less about that and more just about the fact that when you have super minions pushing in the top lane, there's not even any Nexus turrets to help thin out that wave. And that's the big deal to me. And that's partly why you see Ziggs so far up here, pushing so far, trying to utilize his global advantage to really even out those waves. And hopefully for P1, they can set up a good fight because they still are in the game. And TSM is going to try to force around that Infernal. I don't think this is the fight you take for P1 because they just don't have the vision.
Yeah, right now it's going to be the reset. They're going to give this one away. And Inori does not have flash to be leaps for a steal. I don't think it's worth trying because if he's dead, you lose the game 5v4 outright.
Exactly. They just walk it down top lane, they end the game. That is not where you want to fight. P1 are going to have to give that up because of the map state.
Oh, they can keep playing the rotation game. Triple Cloud might come into effect sometime this game. It's hard to say what's happened because of those Drakes, but right now it is TSM who have the tools they need to close this out, end their season 15-3, end the split 15-3, and take that first seed. Cloud9 is hoping for a Phoenix1 comeback as they stand to gain from a P1 win here. C9 would take first place instead, but that seems to be unlikely, cheering or not. TSM now going to play for the Baron buff that is likely to end the game and end the match.
I do think that P1 is going to have their chances to actually fight around this, though. They have some wards in the back of the pit. They have Shen split pushing, so they will be able to eventually force an answer and get some map presence out there. It's really hard to force both those globals out of the Shen to actually just get a free Baron in a situation like this.
And they're going to play inside the jungle. You can see the deep wards, the sweeper. They do miss one, but it's not that important. They know that the approach is dark. For now, this Rift Herald will let them know what's going on, or the Scuttle, I should say, and here comes the play. Zig has to ult in to make this happen. Baron losing health pretty quickly. TSM inside the pit. Bjergsen cutting around the backhand side. Good damage out from Arrow. Here comes the re-engage. Bjergsen wants to get the solo kill on the bottom. Look at the damage output.
Oh my
Just
God.
solos him out. And here's the fight in the front line. Turtle stays alive, and Inori gets deleted. This is going to be 2 kills already. Make it a third in pretty quick order. No chance to re-engage. And in a 5v2, Guardian Angel pops down, he goes. 5v2, it's time for TSM to look for the Nexus.
Oh.
That is not a Faker caliber shockwave. It's not gonna get the kills just yet. The poke's not gonna matter. Ryu goes down. And now it is Shady against the world. It's not gonna happen. TSM are gonna close one out 2-0 against the number 3 seed. TSM gonna secure that first place seed heading into the postseason. Number 1 TSM, number 2 Cloud9, number 3 Phoenix1. That is where those teams will end up. TSM 2-0, some of their toughest competition to end out the week to gain redemption for their loss to Liquid yesterday. And they go for the KD at the end of it all. And down it goes. TSM victorious in the last match of the regular split.
And they look good. I mean, game 1 was an absolute stomp. Game 2, a lot closer. But Turtle down the stretch, I think, performed very well. A little bit of redemption for him, and Bjergsen was a monster as always. I mean, that kill on Arrow ended the game.
Yeah.
You know, yes, it wasn't over, but that ended the game. You know, they opted into a 2v1 on Bjergsen. He comes out the best in that, and
yeah,
there's just not much they can do from there.
Big damage on the Vladimir. 2 games in a row, his most damage on his team. This time around, both Ryu and Inori had better showings. I felt like Ryu was doing reasonably well for himself. He was getting dove a lot and it made it rough, but he had at least a lot of damage. Inori certainly was a big factor here. We started out 4-0-2 in a game where his team had 6 kills for a while, but unable to get the rest of it. And Arrow's Lucian failed to do what Sneaky did to him in the previous match.
I mean, this game for me, I think last game, despite them still getting stomped, I think Arrow actually looked better. This one, there were some more glaring errors in Arrow's play. I think notably the top lane play, dashing in, not being able to avoid some of these skill shots, kind of getting hooked up a lot, even sometimes with summoners available and dash available. I don't think Arrow looked on form today. And yesterday at C9, he certainly didn't. There's been a lot of holes that are kind of being punched out in his play in this last weekend, and people are talking about Arrow for MVP, talking about these guys for MVP, and I think that these last matches matter a lot for that. And with his weekend's performance, hey, that might have cost himself the award.
It honestly could have, especially when you consider what kind of stuff Bjergsen did this game. And in the previous one, he had that like 1v3 double kill as like they were chasing off the dragon. You saw him, use the lead he was given by his teammates in lane. But yeah, solo killing the bot laner in the climactic Baron fight. That's a game-winning play right there, as you mentioned. And that's the kind of thing that TSM expects out of Bjergsen, that TSM fans expect out of Bjergsen. Heck, things that Bjergsen expects out of Bjergsen. And those kind of plays are MVP caliber stuff.
And I mean, the only kind of cause for concern I have around TSM's play, for them going into playoffs is these last couple of games, it has seemed so predictable where they're doing. It's a nonstop mid lane, Hauntzer roaming to mid lane on tanks over and over and over, jungler, hardcore camping mid lane. It feels like they have kind of cut off the bot lane again. And when you do have very predictable patterns, sometimes teams, especially with preparation going into playoffs, can look to exploit that.
Sure.
That said, obviously, there's a lot of practice for TSM before they go into it, and they can change up their game plan. But they have kind of defaulted back to this everything around Bjergsen style.
And that's true. And so we get to see kind of what TSM is going to be up for with this one. But either way, they do get the win. They get to watch the quarterfinals. They get to figure out who they're going to play and study them as well. We'll see what happens. But for more, let's check in with Captain Flowers and Bjergsen.
Thank you very much.